obsessive, relentless, focus, persistence. These are just a few words that people think of when they think of hustle. You know, a lot of people get hustle wrong. They confuse hustle with activity and busyness. They seem to think that hustle is about volume and velocity. How many calls can I make today? How many meetings can I attend? How full is my calendar? People who really hustle look a lot different than that. They don't measure success by activity, but by the right activities. They are relentless in understanding what it takes to achieve their goals. They are vicious in eliminating anything that detracts them from achieving those goals. And they don't waste time, thoughts, resources on things that don't contribute to them achieving their goals. They are calculated. They examine every process, what they do, how they do it, how to make it better. They are constantly learning, improving, tuning to produce better results and better effectiveness and better efficiency. They don't compare themselves to anyone else. They believe that they are in a league of their own, competing only against themselves. They are driven. They don't concern themselves with quota. They focus on their goals. They don't let themselves be distracted by shortcuts, setbacks, obstacles, or difficulties, but yet they figure out how to get around them or how to avoid them altogether. They don't make excuses. They learn from their failures. They don't take the easy way out. Hello and welcome to the No Easy Way Out podcast. My name is Tony Nash, and we are broadcasting from the Armory in downtown Owasso, Michigan, home to my company, AZ Business Solutions. Now, when I think of hustle, I think of our guest today. Let's welcome to the show, Randy Woodworth.
Thank you.
Randy, thanks for being here.
Oh, thanks for having me, Tony.
Randy and I grew up in the Corona, Owasso area, and we've known each other for a long time. I think your stepmom and my dad worked together for years, so we've known each other playing sports and different things, but our relationship today goes far beyond a childhood friendship. Randy really has become a mentor in my life, a trusted advisor, and a friend. Randy was actually one of the very first people that I spoke to about my business, and he was actually one of the very few in this area that showed any kind of positivity or enthusiasm about my concept. He actually encouraged me and said that there was a real need for our services in this community, whereas a lot of community leaders were very pessimistic about it and kind of made me feel like it wasn't the right market for it. Actually, Randy, I think you may have been either my first or one of my first clients when we built your website. That was almost 5 years ago now, so time flies when you're having fun.
Absolutely, Tony. Absolutely.
Now,
great job, by the way.
Oh, thank you. We're on the rise, I would say. But Randy actually helped us get our first spot on the second floor of the Exchange building. We had a little 6x8 closet. I called Randy and I said, "Hey, I'm looking for a space just for me. I really got to the point where I can't work at home anymore." And he said, "I got the place." And he brought me to this literally closet.
Yeah, it's small. And actually, until you kind of mentioned that earlier, I forgot you lived in that little broom closet. You're like the Harry Potter of web design at that point.
Yeah, that's basically what it was. So I was there for about 3 or 4 months, and then I got to the point where I needed to hire an employee, and he got us then our second location on the third floor of the Exchange building. We were up there at that time with the Chamber of Commerce while they were waiting for the Armory to be done. And we had 2 suites up there, much bigger space, a little more room for expansion.
A window.
We had a window, which was very, very nice. And then he got us right here in the Armory. He was instrumental. Actually, he presented that to us probably 3 or 4 years ago, and I didn't know that we'd be big enough to be here at that point. I hoped that we would, and Randy saw something, and so here we are at the Armory today, and that's why I have Randy as one of my first guests on the podcast. And I think Randy really is a visionary. He's a lover of our community. He's a real believer in hard work and determination really paying off in the end. Randy and his company, Woodworth Commercial, have facilitated so many businesses in this area, in our region, and has really even been instrumental in our growth here at AZ along the way. He's always urging me to keep moving forward, to keep pressing towards my goals, to keep my goals at the forefront of my mind, to not get discouraged when things don't necessarily go my way. But what's the most unique, in my opinion, about Randy, or really what sets him apart, is that the hustle is real in Randy's life. He puts his money where his mouth is. Randy is always on the go. He's a hard guy to get a hold of sometimes because he's always working on something. He never rests on his laurels. He's always on the move. So, Randy, that's kind of what I see in you, and I appreciate the relationship that we've had. And, again, thank you for being on the show today. But I'd like to give you a minute here to just kind of tell our audience about who you are and what it is that you do.
All right. Well, thanks, Tony. I appreciate that that intro. Feel humble. But you're right. You know, I am always on the go, and I'm very focused and determined to help others achieve their dreams and accomplish their goals. You're a perfect example of that. But my company, Woodworth Commercial, was founded 9 years ago, and we, in a nutshell, help people buy and lease commercial space. And we do that primarily in mid-Michigan. We've got an office here in Owasso, and then also recently Okemos, serving the Lansing market, greater Lansing area. So that's what we do. When people hear real estate agents, they think of houses. We don't do houses at all. We just do commercial real estate. We help people expand, find new business, sell their assets, and that type of thing.
So if you've driven through Owasso or really Shiawassee County, you've seen the Woodworth commercial signs all over the place. Randy, do you have any idea off the top of your head how many businesses in Shiawassee County you've found and facilitated space for?
Oh, goodness sakes. Probably in Shiawassee County, we're probably knocking on the door of 100 at this point. And that would include some that were probably going to come anyway, and we just help them find the ideal space. But a lot of it is people that, like you, who didn't necessarily have a plan and a direction, just had a good idea, and we've kind of helped them kind of focus in on their idea and help them find the space. So,
very nice. Okay, so Randy, I want to ask you then, to those listening, describe for me, who is your client?
So my client is, we primarily, look at probably three types of clients. We've got investor clients that are looking to diversify their income or their portfolio, and we help them find income-producing properties for their, I guess, the investor client, I guess is what I'm trying to say, in a nutshell. The other, it would be new business. So we do, and that's kind of where my, I guess, heart's been for the last couple of years is helping guys and gals start up and find their spot. So, that primarily is in retail. And then I think the other one is institutional. We help, some bigger companies find additional office space, additional warehousing. So institutional, startup, and investor. Those are my clients.
Okay. All right. So if that's you, you know who to call. Call Randy Woodworth.
Absolutely.
Randy, what do you want people to know? We're going to ask some questions here in a second so we can get to know you a little bit better. A lot of people around town know Randy Woodworth. They've seen your signs. But we want to get to know you a little bit better. But what do you want people to know about Randy Woodworth?
Oh, man. I guess, I'm aware of my shortcomings. I'm aware that other people have them as well. So I don't expect the people to come to me with all the answers. I understand that nobody's perfect, but I also understand that there can be a solution. And I think that's kind of my thing, Tony, is I'm very solutions oriented. I focus on getting the problem solved. So I'm kind of a problem solver. That's how I've made my mark. We don't complain. We don't ever say, we rarely say no. And just like with you, you heard pessimist, people possibly telling you not to do something. I encourage people to do it, and we find the solutions, whether it's money, whether it's space, whether it's just plain encouragement or looking at it from a different angle. I find myself as kind of a problem solver and a solutions-oriented person, and that's kind of been my lot in life, I guess.
And I would agree with that. I would say whenever I've come to Randy with any idea, even if it was one of those ideas where you kind of try to couch it a little bit to make it more palatable to somebody, because people are going to immediately come to you with all of the reasons why not to. Randy always, like literally within seconds of you telling me, he's just say, I love it. Let's do it. Let's go right now. Let's go. And he'll just start like giving you like a list of things to go do now because he doesn't want to just talk. He's like, if we're going to talk about it, let's do it. So I appreciate that. That's been a huge encouragement to me. And I know the guys at Foster Coffee would say the same thing, and I've heard them say the same thing, because when they came to him about their idea to have a third wave craft coffee shop in Owasso, Michigan, they came to Randy, and he facilitated their space, and they've become very successful, getting ready to open their third location. So, Randy, I'm going to give you some rapid fire questions, okay?
All right.
I'm going to give you some options. I just want you to come, whatever comes to your
So
mind.
do I get these wrong or right? Do I get
Well,
bonus
that's
points?
up to you. I mean, there's no bonus points at the end, but this is how we're going to really get to know the real man, the myth, Randy Woodworth, okay?
Not the legend yet, though.
Not the legend. We'll
All
find
right.
that out by the
We're
end.
working on that.
Okay, so Randy, here we go. Ready? Real quick here. Mac or PC?
PC.
Apple or Android?
What's Android?
There you go. Good answer. Action or comedy?
Action.
Night owl or early bird?
Night owl.
Steak or chicken?
Steak.
Deep dish or thin crust?
Deep dish.
Seinfeld or The Office? It's a tough one.
That is tough. I'm a Seinfeld.
Good man. Good man. Netflix or Hulu?
Netflix.
Facebook or Instagram?
So, wow, Facebook.
Yeah. See, that makes you an old person. They say Facebook is for old people.
I see
think
results out of Facebook more than I do Instagram.
I agree with you 100%. And, generationally, the answer Seinfeld. I mean, that puts you out of the millennial category, I think.
crap.
But I
Getting
love
old.
I'm with you on that one. All right. Marvel or DC?
Marvel.
All the way. Star Trek or Star Wars?
Star Wars.
Okay. I know you're a sports guy.
Yep.
You used to be able to play sports, not so much anymore, but I know you like to watch sports.
Yeah.
So these next ones are sports related. MJ or LeBron?
MJ.
No question.
No question.
I think I know the answer to this one, but Brady or Manning?
Who's Manning?
Yeah.
6-time Super Bowl champion, Tom Brady.
Randy is a big Tom Brady fan. Emmett Smith or Barry Sanders?
Oh, homeboy, Barry.
Barry. Spartans or Wolverines?
Wolverines, go blue.
All right, this one's tough. Cavaliers or Trojans?
Oh, my heart started beating a little quicker there.
Yeah.
So I recently came out of the closet as a Trojan. So Trojans.
Oh, wow. Well, congratulations.
Yeah.
Thank you for being true to yourself and revealing your true identity to us there.
Yep.
All right. Randy, what is your favorite quote and why?
So interesting because you see them on memes all the time, right? But when you say that, there's only one that really kind of sticks with me and jumps out, and it's actually not. I guess maybe it's a quote. It's a Bible verse, such as Matthew 6:33, which is "Seek ye first the kingdom of God, and all these things will come unto you." Yeah. So that's the one. That's really the one that that's the only thing I think of when I think of that.
Excellent. That one helps you keep your priorities straight, right?
Yeah, it keeps you grounded. There's a bigger picture out there.
Yeah.
And it makes your decisions a little bit easier.
I would say there's great peace in that, because when you realize that my time here on earth is limited, but it's here, I'm going to make the most of it. But it makes you realize I'm living for something bigger. I'm living for something more. Well,
and the older we get and we start choosing Facebook over Instagram, that mortality sets in a little bit greater. And, I've got kids and I focus on them. And but, yeah, that's the quote. And it's because it does keep me humble and grounded.
Okay, good. What or who inspires you?
So, you put your faith in man and you're going to get disappointed, right? But I think it's a what. And I'm getting softer as I get older. And really, any time anyone thinks they can't and then does, that fires me. I literally just got goosebumps just now.
Yeah.
Like, that fires me up. When somebody overcomes anything, even like a toddler overcoming, that challenge of climbing the stairs, or I'll tear up, and it just gets me fired up.
Love the underdog.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So what inspires me is people overcoming, their obstacles.
That makes a lot of sense. And knowing who you are and the way you encourage entrepreneurs, I would say that makes great sense to me. And we're talking today about hustle.
Yep.
And the title of our podcast today is "The Hustle is Real." And of course, we talked about a little bit what hustle means to me, or what hustle really is. We're not talking about being a hustler. But what does hustle mean to you?
So I've been called a hustler.
Yeah.
And that has a negative connotation to it, right? I've learned to embrace it. So what does that mean to me is it's tenacity. It's a bit of, there's a phrase, water on a duck's back, Maybe that's my favorite quote. So it just means when things happen and you let it roll off and you move on. I think to have hustle, you have to be tenacious. You have to be willing to see a goal and then do whatever it takes to get there and solve the problems to get there.
Okay, excellent. So what was it? I know you have some job history, but what is it that inspired you, or no, maybe the better word is compelled you to become an entrepreneur?
That's an interesting question. I don't know that you know what? I was about to say I don't know that anything compelled me, but then something hit me just now, and it was the movie Annie and Daddy Warbucks.
Oh, wow.
And there was a phrase in there, and I'm literally discovering this stuff. We're having a small self therapy session here, but there was a moment when Daddy Warbucks said something about landing on a dime, and he didn't know what that was. And I thought to myself as a little kid, how could you have so much money that you don't know what a dime is?
Right.
You know, and that stuck with me. But in reality, I've just always been that way. I delivered newspapers as a young kid. I did
that too.
Yeah.
Who was your carrier, or who'd you carry for?
Argus.
I was a Flint Journal man myself.
Oh man, those are bigger.
Yeah.
So did you have
15 miles a day.
Did you have the black ink on your from Roland?
Always.
Yeah.
And I bought a little moped and put a little basket on the back. And I used to get made fun of so much for driving that little moped around town, but I was like laughing
you
all
were
the way
older,
to the
though.
I was laughing all the way to the bank.
I was driving
yeah,
a tricycle,
I was like 14,
bro.
15. Oh,
I was driving.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
No, but it
Early
was 11.
adopter.
I actually started subbing for the local carrier when I was 10 years old, and then I started 11 or 12. I took over his route. But yeah, you know, your fingers would be raw from rolling papers and then snapping those rubber bands down them all the time.
Yeah.
But then I did the baseball cards. You know, I went to the shows.
I did that.
My uncle Billy Shoemaker was a the quintessential hustler, if you will. He was a flea market guy that always had the buy-sell thing going on every Saturday down at the Dixieland Flea Market. And from a young age, I learned that value is perceived, and you can control a lot of what you do through market and in marketing. And I remember one Saturday, my cousin Nathan and I bought every Smurf figurine at the Dixieland Flea Market, and then priced them like twice of the value. And
you
it was
knew something big was coming with
yeah.
Smurfs.
So I've always kind of just had that in me. There was no aha awakening moment, although I did reference Daddy Warbucks. But
Yeah.
I mean, dude, it's weird. Like literally would iron my money, put it in the freezer so that I had cold hard cash. I mean, this is a little kid. Like I'm a little bit warped
Been
in
a
that
hustler
sense.
since you were flipping Smurfs.
That's it, man. I guess, man. I guess. So.
Not a lot of people have a Smurf flipping story, but you do.
Hey,
That's
you know,
pretty good.
wherever there's a dollar.
That's right. That's right. And then when eBay came out, that was like the greatest thing ever.
I
then
sold
you
a lot on eBay,
So
yeah.
did I, yeah. Okay. What are some common myths, do you think, about being an entrepreneur that people have?
The rich. Everybody thinks I'm rich. Everybody thinks people that have a business has all this money. It's not true. I
can vouch for that.
Yeah. So it's a hard job, and there's a lot of stress. I think that's the biggest myth. Honestly, people think because you own a business that you have a lot of money.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's the goal. That's where
the
we're
goal.
headed. I have that. You know, I hope I'm better now than I was 10 years ago, but, you know, there's a long way to go, and I'm still broke quite often.
Sure.
It happens.
Yeah.
So that's probably the biggest myth, I would think.
The phrase "the hustle is real" also means you could still be living week to week at times. So
Absolutely. I mean, you can't, and that's the thing about the tenacity. You can't be afraid, and I never have been, to be broke for a little while.
Yeah.
You can't be afraid of it. And you just know it's temporary. I say poor is a state of mind and broke is temporary. And I just know that because I don't have money now doesn't mean I'm not going to have money later. So
it's a good way of looking at it. All right. So 80%, statistically, they say 80% of businesses fail. Why hasn't yours?
because I'm a hustler, bro. I mean,
Cue the music.
Drop the mic. In order for it to fail, I'd have to quit.
Yeah.
I'm not quitting.
Yeah.
I may have some setbacks. I may slow down, but I would have to quit in order for it to fail, and I'm not quitting. And I've turned a corner to where I'm thinking, not only am I working for myself, but I want to try to set up something generational. Mm-hmm. I have 4 kids, and I would love.
I got 6. I got you beat.
Man, bro. Okay. I would love someday to see that Woodworth Commercial brand continue with one of my sons or my daughters, and man, that's the ultimate, right? Like just thinking
Absolutely.
about that is
Absolutely.
ultimate.
My 15-year-old son has taken quite an interest in what we do at AZ and has expressed some interest in it. Of course, I'm not going to force that or push that on him because I think kids need to be able to figure out what, their purple cow is, what makes them unique, and I think parents should help facilitate that. But the thought of them wanting to maybe do what I do, I think really motivates me.
So let's explore that question a little bit further, because 80% of businesses fail. I question that. Like, where are you getting that?
Yeah.
But they come and
They
go.
said it.
They
said
yeah,
it.
those days.
95% of statistics are made up on the spot.
I thought it was 70. Yeah. So I think from a pragmatic standpoint, it's saying I won't quit, therefore I won't fail. I think a lot of it has to do with maybe they're underfunded.
Mm-hmm.
The other thing is I think self-doubt comes into play.
Mm-hmm.
So kind of looking at that a little bit more deeper,
Sure.
rather than just saying, well, don't quit, you'll never fail. But
Yeah.
you have to be properly funded to start a business.
Sure.
And then secondly, don't worry about the doubters or the haters.
Right.
And then the most important one of those is yourself.
Right.
That was you.
Doubting,
You were a doubting Thomas.
That's true.
You weren't sure that this thing was going to work. And I'm just like, Tony.
There was a number of people that made me almost believe that this is not the right market.
What a shame.
It's a good idea. We've had several people. I was told there's several people that have tried that same business in this, and they've all failed. And that makes me even more proud. Like, hey, I'm not failing.
But you wonder how many more of you were out there that, didn't do it.
Right.
And
there are certainly more talented people than me out there. I see them all the
I
time.
I promise there are.
Yeah, there are way more. But
and me, right?
but listen, the difference is, like you said, I mean, one of the biggest differences is that determination. I'm not quitting. I'm not going to fail. I might have a setback, but I'm not going to let it beat me. I'm not going to quit. And I think when I hear that phrase, I think 80%, and that probably is steep, but that just tells me there's probably a lot of quitters out there. And I'm not saying that everyone that fails did so because they quit, but I would say what gets that percentage high is because a lot of people quit when it gets hard. And so all of that thing, when we talk about hustle, it means being determined. And the word you used earlier wasn't resilient. It was tenacious to go after it. So then we talked about success several times. What does success look like to Randy Woodworth?
That's an evolving question. And I think, you have to have those little successes that you achieve throughout the year and then yearly and, every 5 years or whatever. But I think at the end of the day, if I leave a business or a legacy that my children can step into and run and grow, I've been successful.
Yeah.
That's where I'm defining it now. So my decisions on a daily basis and how we go about our business are more long-term and more. I used to run things out of my checkbook or out of my back pocket, and now it's a little bit more fine-tuned. So I'm trying to make those decisions to leave a legacy, and I call it first generation wealth.
Yeah.
I didn't come from, me and you, you and I, we had
Blue collar parents.
100%, man, 100%. So if we wanted to be wealthy, it's going to come from our own generation, ourselves, first generation wealth. But I want to leave that so that maybe I can leave a second generation wealth.
Yeah. Excellent. It is a moving target. As you get older, things your priorities start to shift. And ultimately, I think success is being happy. And as you get older, you start to realize like what really makes you happy and what really will make your family happy and your children happy. And I couldn't agree with you more on that. So why do you think most people do not pursue their $1 million idea?
It might not be $1 million idea, but it goes back.
Might also be though.
Yeah. So it's probably, we kind of hit on it, and it's the naysayers and the haters. I'm a strong believer that you find what you're looking for. So if you want to find the positivity, you got to look for the positivity, and it'll present itself. So, you just can't give up. And if you have something that you really believe in, then you can't quit. And that may be on the side for quite a while after hours of your regular job or whatever. But I think it's more so other people's opinions that really don't matter than it is, the idea itself.
That is one of the toughest things to get past, but there is nothing more liberating than getting past the fear of what everybody's going to think about it. I mean, there's a guy that made multi-million dollars because he found a little squishy gel thing that would go between your seat and your middle of your dash, and just from preventing the change from going down there, that guy's made multi-million. So, I mean, if you have an idea, go after it. If you think, not like you said, some of these are not million-dollar ideas. So the idea has to be good. But, man, that fear of failure is one, but I think really what gets people is the fear of your peers. And we're living in a social media world, and so, well, you're really open to critique.
Well, that, and I think
criticism.
Yeah, absolutely. But that also, because we do live there, that kind of equalize the playing field. I think there's really no excuse to not make money right now with this, the way that the market, the accessibility to the consumer. I mean,
you can start a business with zero in your pocket.
I said that you don't want to be underfunded because you will run into hurdles, but you can go direct to consumer with whatever idea you have and produce it at a level that you need to produce it at based on orders. So there's really no excuse, and you can set up a shop online for free. You can do all this stuff for free, like you said. So I think it's self-doubt and then other people's input, other people's opinion.
Yeah. So our podcast here, No Easy Way Out, we really talk about avoiding shortcuts, overcoming setbacks, and achieving success. Those are kind of the things we focus on. So tell our audience about a time that maybe you took a shortcut, tried to take the easier way to save time or maybe save a little money or cut some corners, and then how it came back to bite you.
Man, my wife could probably tell you 50. Here's the thing with me, Tony. I do not dwell on that kind of thing. I guarantee you I have. They just don't come to mind. And I've actually been thinking about this for a while because Tony's nice enough to, for those of you out in our listening audience, he provides the questions prior to, and I really have been struggling on this one.
Well, that's a good thing.
Well, but it's only good because I don't dwell on it.
Right.
I guarantee you customers or clients would probably point out something that I've done there. They would think I shortcutted, but maybe I think probably, the way I ran my business initially, trying to do it myself and not giving up control, which you had some issues with as well.
Yeah, certainly.
It's not really a shortcut, but it's an easy way out.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
It's hard to give up control. It's hard to let people behind the curtain. And
it goes back to what do people think?
Yeah, exactly. Oh my gosh, they might find out that I'm broke sometimes, right?
Yeah.
But peeling back that curtain and allowing people into your business and into your financial life liberates you and sets you up for some potential and huge growth.
For sure.
So that's it. I guess we just discovered it together.
Well, no, and then that's good. I mean, I think to me the takeaway there is don't dwell on it. We've all made mistakes, but did you learn from it? I always say I don't live life with regret because I either won. I either won or I learned, right? If I didn't win the game, I learned something from it. And so don't dwell on it. Learn from your mistakes, get better.
You also lost.
Yeah, but I don't view it that way. So, I mean, literally I did, but I learned something.
I'm so competitive, man. My wife hates it. She tried to teach our kids, to be gracious
winners and gracious losers.
Yeah,
they aren't going to get that one from Dad.
Yeah, I'm so competitive. It's bad. It's bad.
So then let's talk about a setback or a failure. What would you say is your biggest setback? And I know you don't dwell on these things, but a decision you made that was really like that was not good, and then how you overcame it.
So, goodness, my biggest failure. I mean, I'll focus right in on that one. A lot of people don't know this, but I started a construction company in like high school. I started working for a guy, 15 years old. Ended up taking it over. And completely failed, bankrupt at I think it was 2001.
Wow! So
that construction company went belly up. And what was my biggest takeaway?
What'd you learn from it? Yeah.
So
how'd you overcome that?
So here's
how did you get where you are now after experiencing something like that?
Well, again, I tend not to dwell, but that was a big one. That was what that did for me was to make me a little more cautious and realize that it can all go away. So now as an entrepreneur or as a business owner, you have that tugging feeling, at least I do, because I lost. I had it. I made $1 million in 1999. And in 2001, it all went away. Every penny and then some.
Wow.
And so now I have that seed planted where I have to be careful. I have to make smart decisions. I have to make sure people are paid. I have to do the things in order to run a business to keep the business sustainable. And it was a great, I think, happening at that age, in 2001, what was I, 20 something, 4, 2, 3, whatever. No business.
You're pretty old now.
Well, it's 2 decades ago, it's funny because we're in a small town and things will stick with you.
Sure.
So it takes a while.
People don't like to let you forget.
I always say, you spend most of your life trying to distance yourself from your 20s, but, that was an epic failure. I had a bankrupt business, a bankruptcy, and had to start over completely. And it did. So what it did for me was, it made me smarter in the way that I do things today. I'm more careful, and I'm more. What's the word? I guess my eyes are open a little bit. I'm aware of the fact that there's a right and a wrong way to do things.
Sure. And to those of you listening today, I would say, most people that know Randy closely today would not know that. I've known Randy for a long time, and I didn't know that story. And maybe you out there today, and you've experienced some sort of a major setback. Maybe you feel like a failure. Maybe you feel like there's a huge obstacle getting in the way of what you really want to accomplish. And I would just say, take where you're at, do an inventory. What did I do wrong? Where did I go wrong? Learn from it quickly, and then get back up and start going at it again, because it's not over. It's not over till it's over. And like we talked about earlier, not quitting. Don't quit. Keep pursuing. There's something that's going to make it work.
So, and that was, the circumstances are what they are, but that was one of those 80% of businesses that failed, right? That business failed. And the timing of that, so that was in 2001. In 2000, I had taken my real estate exam. My best friend, Jim Warfel, and I took that together, and I had my license. I wasn't doing anything with it, but he actually passed away in September 30th of 2001, and my business was already in the pooper. I was, and so I folded up, filed bankruptcy for that business, and went into real estate, and that's how that transition happened. If my best friend hadn't passed away, I may be a construction mogul, because I would have rebuilt it. Yeah. I wouldn't have given up. But that was the God's plan for me to go into real estate. And so I did, and then I haven't looked back.
Good. Well, thank you for sharing that with us. I really appreciate that. And hopefully it will inspire somebody out there listening today that there's no reason to quit. Dust yourself off and keep moving forward. So we talk a little bit about setbacks and failures, but really, we want to achieve success. That's what we want to motivate, inspire people to do. So, in your mind, what is your biggest success or win to date?
Well, to date, I think, and I've got a few more that I'm gonna try to achieve. But right now, I think the biggest one I had was the remodel and renovation of the old Kmart there in Corunna, 109,000 square foot empty box Kmart. Vacated in 2009, I think it was. Sat empty for a little while. So we bought it, repurposed it, put a bunch of new tenants in it, and sold it last summer. And it was like a 20,000% increase or something like that. That's
crazy.
It was huge. So
and that's full now today.
Still full. Some great tenants in there. That was a challenge. That was a challenge filling those, but we did.
And how many people said that would never happen?
Everybody says that never happened.
I got to be honest. When I drove by and seen them doing work there, I didn't know it was you at the time. I'm like, man, why are they putting so much effort into this? I mean, there was already businesses that failed there. Why would a new business win? And I was proven wrong.
Yeah, so it went from $300,000 building basically to a 3-point-something million dollar building in a matter of 5 years.
It's crazy.
So, yeah.
So we talk about hustle, and I referenced earlier that hustling is not just about filling up your calendar with a bunch of activity and staying busy, because I like to be busy, but man, certainly I can waste a lot of time. But I hear this all the time, and I'm sure you do too. I hear the phrase, I just don't have enough time.
Bull crap.
Yeah. What do you think about that phrase?
I kind of just told you.
You just said bull crap, right?
Bull crap. So
that's the censored version.
yeah, well, it's family show. That phrase means I don't give it enough priority.
Right.
Period.
You don't really want it.
You don't really want it. You don't really want it. That's it. And
because when you want to get caught up on your favorite Netflix show, you make the time for that because you want that.
You take a vacation. You do all of those things. Get up an hour earlier, go to bed an hour later. I mean, there's enough time. There's always enough time.
I've said this before. Don't work 8 hours for somebody else and then go home and not work on your own dreams, ambitions, goals.
Well, that can be as simple as reading a book, right?
Right.
I mean, learning.
Listening to a podcast.
For instance.
No Easy Way Out.
No Easy Way Out with Tony Nash. Yeah. Coming soon. First Generation
Wealth. Yeah, Randy's podcast is coming soon. We're looking forward to that as well. Okay, so we're almost done here, but I got a couple more questions for you here. What do you love most about being an entrepreneur?
Freedom. Although there is, obvious concerns there, in your business life, but having the freedom of schedule, freedom of time.
Not punching a clock.
Although you still got to put in the time, Tony.
It's not about less hours. It's just about, like you said, freedom.
And you're doing something that you love, and that's the key. So for me, there is no work. It's just me doing what I love to do. So I never stop. Right. I just never stop. I'm always on the hunt for something. I'm always looking for somebody, either for somebody else or for myself. Always looking for that next deal or that next space or helping somebody out. And it doesn't matter if it's, Sunday evening or 1:00 in the morning on a Tuesday or whatever it is. That freedom of doing what you love just makes it every day totally worth getting up and going.
I couldn't agree more. And, a lot of people say that if you find that thing that you love, it's never hard. And I would say that's incorrect. It's definitely a lot more enjoyable. There's a lot of freedom in it. It doesn't seem like work, but there's still some hard parts about it. And so what would you tell someone is the hardest thing about being an entrepreneur?
Scaling your business, taking it from a one-man show to the next level. And then I think in order to do that, the hardest thing for me, and I think for you too, Tony, was releasing some control.
That was extremely difficult.
I coached you through that one.
You kept pushing me on that one. I mean, for more than a year. Yeah. And I kept telling you, I'm doing that. And you kept asking me about it, and I finally did it. And it has been a tremendous burden lifted.
So we'll be open with our listeners. What we're talking about is the financial side of the business and the accounts receivable and the accounts payable.
Right.
And being an entrepreneur, in being first generation wealth, there's no giant war chest to pull out of.
No pile of cash anywhere.
No pile of cash anywhere. So we live a lot of times on very, very industrious means, right? And for Tony and I both, and probably we're not alone on this, it was very difficult to let somebody else see just how often we struggle financially,
right? Because
we're scared that their
perception.
Yep, their perception of us was going to be tainted.
Mm-hmm.
And but what a freeing experience it is when you finally do let somebody else, because at the end of the day, you have people in play. You've got great team members. You and I both do in our offices that are looking out for us.
Mm-hmm.
And giving up that control has saved me so much money
and time.
It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable. And now they understand,
mm-hmm.
They're on my, it's a team effort.
Yeah.
And we're all working towards a common purpose, and we can openly discuss it. It's, there's no curtain from Oz, nobody has to look behind the curtain. It's an open situation now. So,
and I would add to that, make sure when you do that, you find that right person. Both Randy and I have people that we're referring to that are extremely trustworthy and have our back and are loyal And so as he said, once that control was given up, it was liberating, and not just liberating, but let's be honest, they're handling it way better than either of us ever could have or would have.
100%, Tony.
So
100%.
saving us money, making us money, saving us time, all of those things.
Well, and when I say give up that control, that doesn't mean you and I both, I'm sure, are looking over our finances.
Absolutely.
But it's not my responsibility anymore. I mean, at the end of the day, it's my responsibility.
Yeah.
But you know what I mean. I don't have to worry about it every single day.
Reconciling it every day, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, my accountant today, right before she left, she goes, all of April is fully reconciled. I'm so excited when the whole month is reconciled. It's just I'm such an OCD person, and I'm like, well, I'm glad someone's excited about that. Because
dude, I would have to do it like in April. I was doing it for the year before.
Right, exactly. Yeah, it is May 3rd, and she's reconciled. So yeah, that's excellent. You got to know your strengths. You got to know your weaknesses, and self-awareness is not just about touting everything you're good at, but it's also about recognizing the things that you struggle with and facilitating other people to do it, or finding other people to hiring your weaknesses. And of course, that's one of the oldest leadership principles in the book. All right, last question, Randy. What would you say to your 20-year-old self?
So that question really means, what advice should you probably take today?
Correct.
Right? So, because you're wiser. So what would I say to myself today? That's interesting. I'm doing such an amazing job. Just,
Yeah.
just
If I
kidding.
could pat myself on the back,
So my
I would.
20, if I go back in time, buy Google, and don't be afraid to share the experiences, and look for opportunities where others are running. There's an old phrase in real estate that says, "When there's blood in the streets, buy real estate," and that just means that when everyone else is running away from something, there's usually an opportunity to go in.
Yeah.
So I would probably tell myself to be a little bit more in tune to what everybody else is scared of, because there's always an advantage or an opportunity there.
Excellent. Well, Randy, thank you so much for being on our show today. Definitely have learned a lot, and I hope that some of the things we talked about today have inspired you as our listeners. If you're out there today and you're listening, and you have goals and you have dreams, I want to ask you today, are you putting in the work? Is the hustle real in your life, or is it just words? I remember Randy said to me a long time ago, and when I first started managing their social media, this was one of the quotes he asked me to post on his page, but he said, goal without a plan is just a wish. And so everybody has kind of their fantasy life, what it would be like if. Well, why aren't you pursuing it? And if you want that, are you going after it? Are you hustling? Are you holding back because you're worried about what other people think? Are you trying to take shortcuts? Maybe today you've already started pursuing that goal, but you've had some setbacks, some obstacles, or maybe even you failed in a sense. I would say, good. Get better. Take this time and learn from it and figure out, how am I going to do better the next time, and get better at what I'm doing. Hustle. Become obsessive over it. Relentless. Tenacious. Focused. Be persistent. And realize there is no easy way out. There's no magic button. There's no Staples easy button. You get the Staples easy button and you push it, and it literally just says that was easy, but it doesn't do anything. And a lot of times people pursue their dream as though, well, I saw somebody else do it and it looked easy. And if somebody made it look easy, it doesn't necessarily mean that it was easy. And so go after it. Do it the right way. Be persistent and make the hustle real in your life. Thank you for joining us today. We hope that we've inspired you, motivated you, encouraged you to keep moving forward and pursuing your dreams. And I just want to end by saying, good things come to them that hustle. We'll see you next time. Thank you for joining us. Hey guys, if you like that video, be sure and give us a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel by clicking the link below. You can also follow us on Facebook and Instagram.